as it's hit the news, all social media, and furthermore, Meta had a massive stock price drop of about 25%, right? They jumped they fell from 322 to 248, right? In terms of stock price, which is massive for almost $1 trillion company, a 700 or 800 billion dollar company. A 25% stock drop is insane. I think the Wall Street was calling it the largest, or it's the record loss for a day, for a day trading. Was that right, Anthony?
Yeah, I think it was the record decrease in market cap in a day by like multiples.
Yeah, it's insane.
So it's not only like it's what, 290 billion, I think, in terms of the market cap drop, but it was larger than the last one by like 200 billion or something like that.
Wow.
So that's just the magnitude, right? Insane.
Absolutely. I think it's also, fair to note that even though it's dropped massively, Zuckerberg, or Mark Zuckerberg, is actually still in the top 15 richest men in the world, right? So I think, as a side note, that's how much wealth he actually has.
The only way he'll drop is if he gets divorced, right? Immediate drop.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. And right now, I think one thing to note from their earnings call, however, right, is that revenue actually did increase, but their profits fell. Mm-hmm. And the part where I believe, and up for discussion here, Anthony and Jefferson, is where Facebook is moving towards, right, the strategic direction. Now, in the earnings call, he was focused a lot on the metaverse, how this new strategy is going to be the revolutionary idea of his new firm. But the truth is, if you look at the numbers, and numbers don't lie, 97% of his revenue, Facebook's revenue, comes from ads, right? And his chat and his talk about the metaverse is a big pivot. Mm-hmm. Yep. Right. I think that's one. Huge. It's massive. Yeah. I think before we carry on with a bit more numbers that we have as compared to, like, say, our competitors, what are your thoughts here?
I don't know, right? I think this was something that we covered way back. Not way back, a few months back in another market update when we were talking about Facebook rebranding to Meta, and my gut feel then was, wait, this is rubbish. I don't want to be part of this as a shareholder. So I sold after that quite quickly. And I think that the same thing still applies. What he's trying to do, he's trying to pivot, which is fine. It's great. But he's trying to pivot to something that's so unknown, so far out. And that is the problem, right? Maybe it works because he has a free cash flow generating machine of ads to support his experimentation for the next 10 years, right? So that could be fine. They could survive. They could win. But at the end of the day, that is a very risky bet to make, right? And as much as I think that he is good at innovating, or his team can be good at innovating, he has foresight and all that, I don't really want to place that bet, right? I think there's better ways to play that game rather than buying Meta. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I think that, the whole idea of about having a softening macro advertiser demand in some sense, and how like Mark Zuckerberg basically explained that the whole Apple app tracking transparency feature, cut $10 billion.
Apple just destroys people, man. Seriously.
Yeah, cut $10 billion out of Meta's earning in 2022, and then you see like Snap, Pinterest. They all appear to be faring better at handling this change, right? In fact, Snap even said that, hey, my advertising partners are adapting well to the new system, so why is Meta not doing that? Mm-hmm. I think that while, advertiser has basically put back having to spend as consumer expenditure has slowed down on Meta, on the Meta platform itself. One of the things to think about is that why aren't people using Meta as often as compared to the past, right? So you have reasons like TikTok coming on board and things like that. We all know that, when we associate Facebook or like even when my girlfriend sees that I use Facebook, she's like, oh, that's such a boomer thing. Yeah,
it's a birthday reminder calendar,
exactly.
guys.
Exactly. The purpose of it, right? So it has really changed, or rather, Facebook has shaped our social media life in one way or another. But as new apps come along, we evolve as well in that sense. So I see it as a inevitable change. Yeah.
Fair enough. And I think that's where, Zuckerberg wants to try and pivot. Like, I think for me, the biggest question here, right, is that why isn't he doing this? And this is really just conjecture. So just me asking, right? Why isn't he doing this with another company, a subsidiary of Meta, for example, right? So you keep Facebook, you keep Meta the same, you set up a subsidiary, and then run your metaverse thing that way, right? Or even your Oculus units and stuff like this, right? Why?
I mean, I think they are, right. It's just part of the whole, Meta platforms holding company, right? So I mean, legally they are separate entities in that sense. It's just reporting under one group. If the question is why doesn't Zuckerberg use his own money to set up a new company outside of the listed holding company?
Yeah.
Then I guess because he wants to leverage on the free cash flow, right? You have so much money coming in, you don't know what to do with it. And it's true that they have had problems dealing with it. With the antitrust issues, they cannot make acquisitions because that's how they would typically have expanded, right? So what do you do? Well, I do a far out bet, which makes sense. I mean, I don't disagree with it. I just go, oh yeah, I just don't want to take part in this as shareholder.
Yeah, I
Fair
guess.
enough.
I guess another
And I think
angle,
yeah. Sorry, Joe.
I think another angle to see it is that how Facebook has already built a very strong user base, right? And then if he actually want to go out to build this whole metaverse itself, it's much easier to just port the whole user base that they already have. Yeah.
He can try to leverage.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
It,
so why not do that? Having to create two entities, it looks like two separate apps or whatever you want to call it, is not exactly in his favor as well. So from that point of view, I think that's one of the reasons why he's smart enough to do that.
Got it. So utilize the current
Although
user
thinking
base.
about it, he should have just returned us his free cash flow. He returned shareholders' free cash flow.
And
then, right, we can choose however we want to invest in like Meta or crypto or metaverse or whatever.
Of course, he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, he's free cash flow anyway, right? Just give it back, lah. Shareholder accretive, which gives him money back, right? And he can do whatever he wants with it, right? And he's the largest shareholder, so
Absolutely.
But I guess as Jeff said, operationally there are advantages. So he doesn't need more money. He would rather have more fame and have more notoriety as the founder of the next generation of the web. So good for him, I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I think just a quick number thing on in form of Facebook ads as well is that their competitor, the biggest competitor, Google, their ads in Q4 actually grew 50% more than FB, more than Facebook, right? So they are really pivoting, or rather they are focused on the ads, and that's really growing for them, and that's really working. So I think it's just good to note, right? Okay, the competitors are growing. Why isn't FB also growing by that much in terms of revenue, ad revenue spend, right? Because they're supposed to be the leaders in this regard. Cool. Yeah. So I think that for me was a bit of a shock, but also trying to understand a bit more why there was a drop. And, from our discussion, I definitely can see why there is a drop, because people are putting money in there for safeguarding, right? Like you put into the big tech, your Apples, your Amazon, but now Facebook or Meta is into a brand new area, effectively an early adopter phase, when before it was actually a late adopter phase. If you want to look at the startup cycle, coming from a startup guy. And so now it's a risk reward situation, right? And that brings me to my next point. Do you, right, currently for our listeners out there, for our coconuts out there, those that have, and, unfortunately dropped with Meta, what do you think they should do? What do you think we should do as holders? Believe in it?
Yeah.
Hold it?
Okay. So my personal thing, right? Yeah. So after the last episode, the last update, I sold almost all, but I still have like 10 shares, I think. A small portion of my portfolio. And that's the far out bet, right? Essentially. Because and that kind of reflects the probability that I think will happen. Right. So I don't think they will win, but there is a good chance, a small chance that they might. So I'll still hold some exposure. This drops in between. They don't affect me. I don't care. It's the long payout 10 years down the line, and we see his vision come to fruition, and we bow down to the great leader, and that's what the 10 shares are for. So I'm not selling, but equally, I'm not buying, because nothing in this report showed that they are, Oculus is doing decently, but nothing showed that they are actually going to get there and be the leader in that space, right? They always showing is that they are willing to spend a lot of money on it, and I mean, okay, that tends to mean that you have a chance of winning, but I would like to be a bit more certain before, you put real money in.
Got it, Jeff. What are your thoughts?
Right? If I want to gamble, I just play crypto. No need to play better.
Yeah, well, I think that if you are into a nice balance sheet and everything else, like you look at the free cash flow that came in, right? It's like a 45% upside. Near term uncertainty is a little bit higher, of course, but Facebook is now like what, 7x of the EBITDA, I think. Yeah, so
I think so. About that.
yeah,
Around there.
Yeah, so exactly.
They are a value company now, guys.
Yeah.
They're not growth, they're
Exactly.
value.
Yeah. Change their stance. So if you are looking for something like that, then it's a go-to, right? And also given the fact like how with the drop in the market cap, it essentially make them a little bit shareholder friendlier in some sense, because they
More buybacks.
yeah, like regulations and what's not, they are not going to be like a full scale M&A is going to be even more unlikely now. Then you see like competition for shareholder capital being a lot higher. And if I were to look at the Q1 and Q2 result, I guess one thing is that we can say how Facebook ability to make progress with this whole advertising change, from Apple or wherever, and how they try to monetize Reels. Yeah, big thing, right? Like TikTok Reels. So they're gonna need to do a lot more to encourage people to come on board, use their stories. Back in 2018, I think, stories was a big thing, and it took like 2 earnings results in some sense. So if they can capitalize on Reels,
and they did it, right? They did it really
exactly.
well.
They did,
Yeah. So if they can get more engagement trends coming on board on their platform, then I think it's good to go. But of course, all of this could have gone wrong, right? In some sense, if they, like how
But it can
Facebook
still go
became-
wrong, yes.
Yeah, exactly. If they decide to they do some, I don't know, structural engagement, declines in user or time spent on their platform due to competition, then all of which, whatever they spend on, whatever they try to monetize will all, be for naught in that sense. Yeah, but I think currently overall engagement is still rather strong. And if you are into a value tech company, then Facebook is the thing to go.